Hi there, in this video I'd like to have a quick chat to you about how you can get variety in your mark making but through keeping it simple. So they seem like they may be two contradictory ideas. You're keeping it simple but you're getting lots of variety, but it's something I get asked about quite a lot. It's about how do you contain the busyness when you're working. If you're making lots of kind of chaotic marks and you want to get that energy in there, absolutely, but it still has to kind of make sense and you've got to keep it under control. So one of the ways I do that is by keeping things really simple in terms of what I'm using. So having a nice simple palette, a nice simple collection of tools that I like to use, and then varying them up. So what I want to do is just have a quick look at one of my sketches that I've got here, and I'll just talk to you through some of the materials that I'm using and how I'm getting that variety in the mark making by keeping the materials actually quite simple. So I've got this little sketch here. It's in one of my books, but that doesn't really matter. It could be, you know, one that was finished on paper in a sketchbook or something. So, but the point is, this little sketch here I think is quite a good one. I quite enjoy this one. I think it's got a lot of good balance in it, and initially it may seem like there's quite a lot going on, but I kind of feel like it's under control. And the way I've done that is by keeping the materials nice and simple. So I just go through what I've actually used on here. I've got some materials here that I used on this painting, and I just talk to you about how keeping those materials simple has actually enabled me to have this kind of busyness, but a busyness that's under control, this kind of energy that's under control. So if you look at what's on here, there's a bit of white and blue in the sort of sky areas, and I'm just using two colours for that. I've just got some titanium white and a bit of Prussian blue. I'm just mixing those, just getting the mix varied while I'm actually doing the painting. I'm not mixing up a whole load of it and using it out of a palette. I don't tend to work on a palette. That's all I'm using there. There's those two colours, just the titanium white and the Prussian blue, and just varying the mix as I do the painting to keep that variety going on in the painting. And there's this darker area down the bottom here, and all that is going to be just some black acrylic with a bit of Prussian blue in it. So again, I'm using the same colours, so I've just got these three colours now for all that light area up there with the kind of sky and these kind of cloudy sky areas, but also this more sort of solid darker land area. It's just the black with a little bit of the Prussian blue mixed into it, because the black can be a bit deadening all on its own. You know, people say, oh, you mustn't use black, you mustn't use black. Well, this kind of painting, you want a bit of body, you want something really strong that gives it a kind of visual anchor. I think you want something good and dark, and you know, mixing a bit of black but giving it a bit of colour with the Prussian blue, I think it works really well for this kind of area where I want that solidity down towards the bottom of the painting, like I said, to give it a bit of an anchor. So just those three colours now so far. Now that's about it for the paint colours that I'm using, just those three colours. And I've got all this kind of light area up here, just mixed in slightly different ways, the dark area down here, and just those three colours, just the black and the white and the Prussian blue. There's nothing else on there at all. And the rest of the painting's made up more or less with drawing materials. So I've got a couple of watercolour pencils, and I have some oil pastels as well. These are quite chunky oil pastels, these ones, but they're not oil bars, they're oil pastels. And you can see that there's a lot of the marks here. This green here is made up with this oil pastel, these green kind of accents. A little bit of this nice fiery orangey red, just to balance out some of the cooler colours, and because it's predominantly quite a cool painting with a lot of these kind of pale blues and whites and bluey whites. So just a little bit of that fiery orangey red really balances the rest of it out. And literally the rest of it is just made up with a couple of watercolour pencils. So I've got this darker watercolour pencil, and there's quite a lot of little swirly pencil marks in here and some up here. There's these lighter marks running through the bottom, and that's about it. Just those very simple drawing materials added to a very limited palette of colours. So how does that help me? How does that help to contain the busyness and harmonise the busyness of the painting? Well, I think because I've got so few materials, I'm not confusing the painting. They're all going to work pretty well together. All these materials will work well together. There's a good mixture of tones and colours and cool and warm. And so as I'm adding them, I'm not throwing so much in there that it gets too chaotic. And it also means that I can keep switching between those materials to keep the energy up in the painting, keep the variety in the mark making. So I tend to paint like this by having all these different things in my hand. I might have a knife and a brush and my pencils, and I've got my pastel here in my hands, and I might have the other one in my hand and a brush in my right hand. So I'm painting like this, but then I can just put my brush down and make a couple of marks with this, the pastel, and maybe do some scratching with the knife here, and then switch that back to this pencil. So I'm always flipping between those different materials so that as I'm painting, I'm never using the same brush or pencil or palette knife, painting knife for more than a few seconds at a time. And that's what gets the variety in the mark making. So if ever you're thinking that your painting's getting a little bit stodgy, it's probably because you're not varying your materials often enough. You're sticking with the same brush or the same tool, the same drawing tool, or the same painting knife, using it for too long, so a lot of the marks become repetitive. Now I don't have that problem if I've got a handful of these simple materials which I know are going to work in harmony with each other, and I can keep picking them up and switching between them as I go through the painting. So it enables that variety to just happen spontaneously, and I don't really have to think about it. So I wanted to keep this video really short, just a quick idea about if your paintings are starting to feel a bit heavy but overworked, think about really cutting down on the materials that you're using. Keep it really simple. Pick a few paints, brushes, pastels, pencils that you know are going to work together, and then keep switching between them. Just use them for maybe 10-15 seconds at a time, and then change it up for something else. So you're never using the same thing for too long, so the marks don't become repetitive. Okay, I hope you found that helpful. As always, if you're interested in any of my longer courses or my online membership, then do check out the link that's here on the screen. Okay, I'll see you soon.